So it was supposed to be a defining moment, but peace talks between Congo's government and M23 rebels planned for this Wednesday in Doha have been postponed. It would have been the first direct talk since M23 fighters captured eastern Congo's two largest cities, Goma and Bukavu. The rapid offensive has left thousands dead and forced hundreds of thousands more from their homes and raised fears of a wider regional conflict. So let's bring in Beverly Ochieng. She's a senior analyst with Control Risks. So welcome, Beverly Ochieng. So the first question for me is it right now it's unclear why the meeting was delayed and also no future date was set. So what does it mean for the efforts to find a resolution to the conflict?
I mean, Clarice, it definitely throws the peace talks into fresh uncertainty, even though the mere fact that M23, the rebel group, was going to be in the same room as the DR Congo government was quite symbolic just after the president of DR Congo, Tshisekedi, and the Rwandan leader met for the first time in about 2 or 3 years in Qatar, in Doha. It does mean that M23 may have still an advantage. We might see a shift in the front line where M23 already has an upper hand in North Kivu and Sud Kivu. It could complicate other parallel peace processes that are underway, including with the US, the East African community, and even clarity on whether both parties are going to adhere to the ceasefire that had been initially agreed to when the two presidents had met in Doha.
And do we know more about the delegations that were supposed to attend this meeting today?
I mean, the last time we saw the presidents of Rwanda and DR Congo in Doha, and then just after that, there was a private round of talks with officials from DRC as well as from the M23 rebel group. So it's quite likely that government officials were going to be involved, probably the foreign minister or the prime minister and leaders of the M23 group. But so far, there's not been clarity on who exactly will be at the helm of these talks or who the Qatari mediation team will involve. But there is definitely much more frontline in terms of having a visibility of the DR Congo government alongside with the M23 group for the first time in probably about nearly 5 years.
So meanwhile, what's the latest on the ground? Are conditions in place for negotiations?
Well, M23 did undertake a very strategic withdrawal from the latest area it was holding in Sud Kivu. However, 2 days ago, there had been clashes with the pro-government Wazalendo fighters and M23 rebels. And M23, even though it is just at the margin of the Kalehe territory and it is moving very closely towards Walak area, it does demonstrate that they will still have the inroads towards the region. So fighting hasn't stopped. There's still mistrust on both sides of the government and the M23 group, and even in other parts of the east where groups like ADF continue to be active, Burundi-based armed groups that are in the eastern region. So it's a constant shifting front line for peace talks to really meaningfully lead to a ceasefire.
So while we're waiting for the meeting to take place, so what is Qatar's interest in being involved?
Well, Qatar has broad commercial interests, particularly in Rwanda, where they have a huge stake in the aviation sector. They've been supporting Rwanda and the expansion of the airport. But Qatar is also, according to some of our sources, perceived more favorably both by Rwanda and M23 compared with some of the other regional mediators. So it's quite significant that they've been able to bring all of these parties to the helm. But DR Congo is also pursuing separate peace processes and separate military processes. With the US, for instance, it's looking to exchange some of its mineral holdings to be able to get direct military support from the US. It's unlikely, even though US businesses are likely to benefit from some of the critical minerals that have been largely going towards Chinese companies. There's also been efforts, Turkey had initially fronted itself as a potential mediator, and there are various other parallel processes taking place within the region to try to bring the DRC to peace. But of course, because of the conflicting nature of all of those talks, whether it's minerals, whether it's military deployment, whether it's territory, at the bottom of it is the fact that there's not been clarity on how to streamline all of these processes for there to be adherence to some of the principles such as ceasefires or even respect for human rights.
So we've talked about the global players. So what does it mean for regional efforts?
I mean, interestingly, the former president of DRC has said that he will be returning to the country. He is seen favorably not just by Rwanda, but even by Uganda. The East African community, since DRC's entry, has also been mediating. It had a military contingent which was pulled back because it was perceived to be ineffective. The Southern African Development Community also had troops in the country. They are now gradually reducing, and Angola had been spearheading diplomatic talks. But it still means that there are many conflating peace processes taking place, and the concern is that it's not just a conflict in the east, but the likelihood that it will suck in other regional parties. Uganda has pledged increased forces. Burundi has had to pull back, but it does have rebel groups that are present in the region, and Rwanda's own involvement has complicated regional politics, and even in terms of coordinating between the East African community and the Southern African community, and then now Qatar and the U.S. processes.
Thank you very much, Beverly Ochieng. It was nice talking to you. We couldn't see you for technical reasons, but thank you very much for your analysis.